Office, plus high-profile interviews from the biggest names in football. Talk football with Coach K every weekday from noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
My favorite thing about music is it's reliable. It's always there.
It just helps me cheer up other people.
There's nothing to worry about when you do music. You're just having fun.
When I'm playing it, I'm like, wow, this is me.
And the sound just increases around you, and you just become immersed in it. You become one with it.
When you play music, you are playing life.
Whatever music means to you, just play.
Brought to you by the NAM Foundation.
JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome in to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Wednesday afternoon. A little rainy outside, so if you're driving around listening to us, we appreciate it. Slow down just a little bit, but nonetheless, look, we got plenty to talk about today, and of course, a guest. You've heard of him. You hear him all the time from 5 to 7 on the Sports Drive here. Chad Brillante joins us as well. Get to him in just a second. As we always start off our show, we'll continue to do so. I want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers this time. Once again, we do this every day out of pure respect for those folks and what they do. I think, once again, it goes without saying, but we're going to continue to say it because these folks deserve it. Putting themselves out there on the front lines each and every day. We thank them so much. Having friends and family on both sides of this, as well as most of us do. You know somebody that's in one of those lines of work. We appreciate them so much. And look, if you're listening and you're one of those, well, thank you. Thank you for listening to the show. We thank you a ton here. Look, I want to go ahead and give this shout out as well. Grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers out there, thank you so much. Thank you for what you do, making our lives as normal as possible in a time when normal is not a word we use typically. So from the grocery store employees, if you're out there and you go get some groceries or whatever it is, take a little extra time, follow some lines and arrows pointing in directions. I know I've faulted that before as well myself. Throw on a mask. That's not a political statement. That's, I know, mandated around our city a little bit, but nonetheless, if you can physically, if you were able to, throw it on, because it's not just about protecting you, it's about protecting everybody. And once again, I hate to have to clarify this, but this is not a political statement. This is just a genuine statement for everybody. But look, Coach, I know we got a ton to get to. Well, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well. And also, I second your thanks each day to those people that are doing everything they can to help us all in many, many difficult situations. So it goes without saying, we thank them. Wish we had a whole hour just to go over each and everything that they do and all of those different areas that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And with everything going on right now, look, don't let a few bad eggs ruin the entire bunch. We have some great folks, from police officers to firefighters, EMT, nurses, doctors. We thank all those folks, and we're blessed to live in such a great area in Pensacola here in our community and surrounding areas. But go ahead, and our special guest joining us today, Chad Brillante of the Sports Drive. You've heard him on just about everything here on ESPN Pensacola. Chad, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm glad to be indoors right now, but Yeah, glad I woke up this morning. I'm sort of in that training camp mode where even though all the decisions aren't out there, we have to focus on football ahead with high school football, with college football, the decisions being made in the NFL. So getting into transitioning into August, that's sort of our let's get ready to get everything rolling for football in a regular year. So I'm going to stay on that course and then let everybody else, the quote experts, tell me what I can and can't do.
Well, there you go. That's spot on right there. Look, I'm going to jump right into this. I know we have a little bit of time. Of course, look, Joey Bosa, Coach, when we talk about this, signed a huge 5-year, $135 million extension with the Chargers. Obviously, look, he's guaranteed $78 million at signing. The total guaranteed money is $102 million, making him the highest player right there. Of course, he surpasses Myles Garrett, who just a couple weeks ago was the highest paid player. Not anymore. The only contract that obviously follows is Khalil Mack at $141 million total among defenders. And, Coach, when you look at this with Joey Bosa, I think he's a guy that everybody knows. Obviously, Nick, his brother that plays for the 49ers, and rightfully so. Nick is pretty stellar himself. But Joey Bosa is a guy that over 4 seasons, he's had 40 sacks, and he's double-digit totals in 3 of the 4 years. His only misstep came in 2018 when he missed 9 games due to injury there. Outside of that, he has been absolutely stellar. So once again, look, 4 seasons, 40 sacks, and he missed 9 games in one of those seasons. Coach, I think, look, I know the money gets kind of outrageous, but for the Chargers, I think it was important because Joey Bosa is a guy that is he helps solidify that front seven for the Chargers.
Yeah, it's hard to say that that money was justified for anybody, but in this case, and because the money's there, and you are worth what the market will bear, or you're only worth what the market will bear, is another way of putting it. But listen, if you're going to pay players, and we've said forever on our radio show, the 2 things that you have to have first, if you're going to build a football team, you have to have a quarterback, and then you've got to have a pass rusher. So these pass rushers are going to get paid, and they're going to get paid higher than they're going to get paid more than other defensive players. And other defensive players may not like it, but that's the way it is. I really have a problem with how much I don't care that they did because I don't care for them as a football team. But I can't believe that Seattle gave up 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and not a bad player who plays in that position for a safety in Adams from the Jets. I think the Jets made out like champs. Now, they can cut that any way they want to on Good Morning Football and all the other programs they have on, but no, there's no way in the world that a defensive player in that position warrants that much in the way of a trade. So I get it's a long-winded way of saying that Bosa is an outstanding, one of the top 2 or 3 pass rushers in the league, and he was going to get paid. And the other thing that I guess San Diego or the Chargers were needing something like this, a star, if you will, to hitch their wagon to in that LA market.
You look at it right here, Coach, and Joey Bosa, I think it's funny because it can be argued who's better in the family, but how funny is that you could be paid $31 million a year, over $100 million guaranteed, and the highest paid contract ever in defensive history. However, you might not even be the best player at your position in your family currently. I mean, that's pretty crazy to think that's possible. But the difference right now is he's been great. 40 sacks since he's been in the league when healthy. He's been a beast. But there's also what you said is true, and we've talked forever. Defensive pass rushers and quarterbacks are the most important. But it's like that level of you're talking A++ to like a B- in the grading category, because the quarterback is the one where a Patrick Mahomes or a great quarterback like a Tom Brady is always worth to be that 13-3, 12-4 type record, where currently their projected model, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert starting this year for him, is to be a 5-11 type team. Now, they were 5-11 last year in Phillip Rivers' final years. That is something where it shows that it is great to have it, but the money that a quarterback gets paid like Mahomes will change the course of history. Whereas the numbers for a guy like Joey Bosa, he can only do so much, and they're expected to be a 5-win team even with that contract. So that's what the market says, but no defensive player to me is worth that kind of cash. But if the market's going to pay him, he's a guy worth paying.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing now. And, Coach, we agree with you on that. But you know what? Hey, I won't fault a guy for getting his money.
No.
I mean, hey, hats off to you. If you can get it, by all means, go get it. Hey, look, there you go. Joey Bosa signing the extension. That's good for the Chargers. Look, that defense is not bad. I mean, when you look at the defense overall, look, I won't spend too much time on it, but having Linval Joseph and Melvin Ingram's a guy a lot of people forget about. That defensive line's pretty darn good. Adding, obviously, Denzel Perriman and Kenneth Murray out of the draft this year. So going to be interesting to see what happens, especially at the quarterback position. That's one of the bigger positions in question right now. But, Coach, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to some college football. Now, look, this is interesting. When I read this story, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a great move, and this should be something that other teams, I think they will take notice because hats off to Kevin Sumlin with the Arizona Wildcats over there. A lot of people forget about the Wildcats. Look, he suspended junior offensive lineman Edgar Barola for violating school coronavirus protocols. Basically, Barola confirmed the suspension on Twitter. Well, here's what someone said, and once again, hats off to the guy. If you're not going to pay attention to the protocol, wear a mask, all the other stuff, we can't have you around. We don't have time for it, Coach Sumlin said. Coach, once again, I think hats off to Coach Sumlin because this is something that we are going to – seeing with what happened in the MLB – this is going to have to protocols be followed to a T, and I think this is a great start, even though, look, you hate that a guy got suspended, but you turn around and say, look, you didn't follow it, and we're not putting up with it. So, once again, I think this is a great move by Kevin Sumlin.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that's the only hope they've got is to crack down early, make examples. But listen, hey, college football is the most vulnerable of any sport right now because you're talking about 17, 18, 19-year-old kids for the most part, 20. And they're going to go out and socialize. They're going to get with their buddies. They're going to get around bars and anywhere that there's a gathering. You know, being a part of a gathering is a big thing. And for them to be quarantined more or less, or to have to swear off that activity, at least for a while, is a big ask. It's a huge ask for those kids. They don't really realize. They all think that they're going to live forever and nothing can hurt them. That's why they go out and drive 150 miles an hour on the highway. But these are the most vulnerable kids. You do have a chance in college, I think, as opposed to high school. You do have a chance to put them in a much, much better situation than they would be on the streets at home or whatever. But you better crack down because somebody's going to get out there and decide that it's time to go see the boys, and that's what will happen. So, yeah, I think it was a wise thing to do, and other colleges should thank him for doing that.
I think everything right now is risk versus reward, especially for this. If you have a job in the front line and you know you're getting paid well, you're willing to take more risk. But when it comes down to these athletes, I think a lot of the kids want to play. Now, I think overall what we do know is that these leagues like the NJCAA and the Ivy League that have canceled, it's not about directly coronavirus. Now, the coronavirus is the reason for all these leagues ultimately not playing this season, but it's because of the finances that they cannot afford to play. That's why these big leagues, they can take a hit. Everybody's taken a hit. We've taken a hit in the broadcasting business with sponsors knowing that there hasn't been sports the last 4 months. The difference is when it comes down to football, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12 can take that hit and they're expected to still play and make that revenue up long term down the road. But these other leagues, Coach, like the Ivy League, they can't afford daily testing and to get that big of a hit when really most of their funding is through things like medicine and everything going on right now. So it's pretty clear why these other leagues around us are canceling early. But I do believe that the bigger major conferences will be able to play.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Coach.
No, I think that's one thing we talked about yesterday that should be evident to everybody. But if you haven't thought about it, this may be another example of food for thought here that Chad just mentioned. And that one reason they've got these conference-only schedules with a couple of conferences is that they can control the amount of preparation and protocols in place for all conference members. But you can't, that's why it's going to be difficult for smaller schools and mid-sized schools. And I'm afraid some of these bigger schools are going to have to cancel games with schools that can't afford to have the same approach toward this virus that they can. In other words, if somebody's supposed to play Southeast Missouri State, they're an SEC school, that's not comparable. Their kids, you're putting your kids in a very, very bad situation when other schools can't afford to do what you're doing to protect them. So we've got to be careful about how we approach this season. The big guys are going to play. The NFL is going to play. And we're going to have a football season, and we'll all be very happy about that. But I'm afraid it's very tenuous for other schools right now.
Yeah, and these effects are going to affect these schools not just for this year and not just next year, but 3-4 years down the road, because once again they don't have these plans in place. They don't have the money in place. I mean, look, we love South Alabama right down the road, the Jags, and they've done a good job over the past few years. We'll continue to try to build that program, but what do? I mean, once again, they were going to get paid by Florida, but we'll see if Florida hangs on to that game or not. And you're right, that's a very valid point that you mentioned yesterday, Coach. These guys don't follow the same protocols. They want to, but they don't have the money to, and that's what it comes down to in all this. So, going to be interesting.
Hey, a good example is the National Football League. I understand that they're projecting just for training camp, they'll spend north of $77 million just on testing. How many schools can afford the cost on just the testing alone? It's prohibitive. So I mean, they're having trouble just fielding teams right now, and they're going to have in the future. So that's going to be a drag that they can't. They want to do it, but I'm sure they'd like to, but I just don't see it being feasible.
No, I don't either, and we'll see what happens. Look, we got to go to break here. When we come back, of course, we'll talk about players opting out in the NFL. We're seeing more and more players. What does it mean for the NFL? We'll get your take on that, Coach. Ohio State saying they're going to cap at 20,000 fans and ban tailgating. Boy, I'd hate to see that down here in the SEC. By the way, before we go to break, the ACC everybody thought they were going to make a decision on their scheduling. That is not going to happen today. They're going to wait. Obviously, it seems that they're probably going to make their decisions in reference to the Big 12 and the SEC, as it seems these conferences are going to work together. So if you were wondering about the ACC and you woke up today and that's the reason that you woke up early, well, go ahead and take you another nap. It's going to be a little while. Look, all that and more is coming back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Locally owned Jackson Pace Pharmacy has exciting news for ED patients. Tadalafil, the FDA-approved generic for Cialis, is now here, and the cost savings are huge. Save 80% on the 20-milligram tablets, 30 tablets for $80, less than $3 a pill. A prescription from your doctor is required, so stop by Jackson Pace Pharmacy, 2256 West 9 Mile Road in Pensacola, and cash in on the savings today.
This Thursday at 5:30, tune into the Sports Drive with me, Chad Brillante, when we tee it up with PGA and head pro at Osceola Golf Course, Adrian Stills, for his inside scoop on local golf events and some entertaining stories around the links. Adrian has represented Pensacola at the highest levels of the PGA Tour and is proud to call Pensacola his home. And now he's giving you the inside scoop. Thursday at 5:30, right here on the Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Wednesday afternoon. Chad Brillante joining us on the show today as well. Happy to have everybody joining us. Look, I know it's a little wet outside. If you're listening to us close to the Pensacola area, well, slow down just a little bit. Get there safely. Nonetheless, look, we're talking some football with you as always. And, Coach, I want to jump back into this in the NFL. This is obviously a ever-changing story, much like the coronavirus. Players opting out. Now, a lot of people are panicking, saying, you know what, they're going to see college players do the same. I think you'll see college players do it regardless to a certain extent if they have maybe family or things at risk or maybe something going on, maybe a health risk themselves. But we're seeing some players obviously opt out, and the big ones, Donta Hightower, Patrick Chung. I know Patrick Chung for the Patriots has a little daughter at home that he's trying to protect. And look, no fault there. I want to make this very clear. If you want to opt out, absolutely. But there are so many players here that we need to remember that want to play. And I'll talk about a statement the Yankees made yesterday that I thought was great, just for overall for sports. And it speaks a lot to how athletes feel, especially if you talk to these athletes. But, Coach, when you look at the players opting out right now, I mean, is this becoming a big problem in the NFL? Or is this – because the majority of these guys are guys that weren't even really – thinking they were going to make a team. Maybe they were a backup special teams guy. Like I know right now, Jason Vanderland, a tight end for the Saints. He was a special teams guy, a backup special teams guy. He wasn't sure if he was going to make the squad or not, and he went ahead and opted out. And these guys are collecting. Look, you get a $150,000 payout for that. So, I mean, Coach, when you look at this, do you feel this is going to be a problem in the NFL this year?
No, I don't really think so. We'll find out. You know, they've got a deadline on when they can opt out. I think it's coming up here right away.
Yeah, August 4th.
August 4th, yeah. And so that's next week. So we'll find out. We'll find out by then if there's a wholesale opt out. And I like anyone else, if there is reason, a valid reason for someone to opt out and not to play because of underlying illness or because of family situations or whatever, then certainly that's their prerogative, and go ahead and do it. Nobody's going to have any hard feelings. The only thing that I would say to you, the thing that comes to mind, okay, and I don't mean this in a terrible way toward those who are opting out, but what if the doctors and nurses who have to go confront this illness each and every day, what if they opted out? And what about the police and the fire when it came time for putting their life on the line? What if they opted out? Now, I know you could say, well, they get paid for that. They also get, but it's just something to think about. And I don't want that to sound like maybe it does. Maybe it sounds like a cryptic message on the part of players. I don't mean it that way, because there's certainly, I know a couple of them that just had children, and they've opted not to possibly put their young child in a position of getting the virus. I can understand that totally. But I just make a point. We've got an awful lot of other people who really don't have a choice to opt out. They got to go get it done.
Yeah, it's not an easy one to answer. You want to respect everybody's decision. And one thing we can say is anybody that is going to get paid a lot of money, millions of dollars, $8-9 million, that opts out at $150,000, you obviously know that they're not doing it because their life financially is going to be better. Now, there's a lot of questions that get brought up, and I try to deal with the facts. I'm in this for, as you said, Coach, for humanity's sake. And if anybody in your family, personally, I should know. We've had stories of our families together. I know you have daughters. My daughter being in the NICU for 4 months with a weakened immune system. If I felt like if I was going home from being essential for all these months and she could get something that would make it detrimental to her, I would not be doing this. But I also have researched a ton because of that and know that no kid right now in Escambia County or anywhere in Florida at her age has passed from it. Does not mean there can't be underlying conditions, and I'm not playing doctor here, just going with the facts. But we also need to look at 6,000 athletes. Also research this. There's over 6,000 athletes that currently, between the NBA, MLS, MLB, and hockey in the NHL, have been back in practice and in current contact with each other, and there is not one story currently with any of those 6,000 players that they are severely sick because of their age, because of their health. Now, there are COVID tests, but just like the Marlins players out of the 17, not one story is a guy in an ICU or a medical bed. Most of them are asymptomatic. So out of the 6,000 athletes, not one during the course over the last 3 months has been at an ICU or severely sick. So that would play in your favor. So if the athletes are saying, I'm afraid right now that I'm going to get severely sick and not be able to play, I think that that's something that they need to look at the facts, because just basing on facts, because there's no precedent to be set on this, those athletes have been okay so far out of the over 6,000 that have gone back in professional sports.
Yeah, I think that's a very true statement, and it's one thing that I wanted to bring up, Coach. I know we talked about this before the show, but the New York Yankees, and remember the Yankees and we're going to play the Marlins and things like this, and we're talking about all this stuff going on. We know the Washington Nationals voted not to play the Marlins. They were worried about it playing this weekend. Now, they're not worried about playing. They made that very clear, but they didn't want to play them this weekend. They wanted to figure out, obviously, like a lot of people, what's going on. They don't want that situation rushed. I thought the MLB did a great job. And, how does the MLB affect NFL and NCAA? Well, it does, because a lot of these, the MLB is the first big-time sports coming back here when you're talking about the big ones to make their statement and play. And they're not in a bubble. They're not in a bubble like everybody, wants, like the NHL and NBA and things like that, how everybody said it can only be done in the bubble. And that may be true when it's all said and done. I don't know. But for right now, it's proven, as the other 29 teams since Friday have had 0 positive tests in the Major League. So, once again, it goes to this, is it can happen, but it's a lot on the players and the coaches. They have to follow these protocols, not being on the field, but away from the field. And that's going to be the same for NFL. That's going to be the same for college programs. Is once again, we saw 30 players test positive of LSU, and they linked them back to a bar that was off there. And now the Marlins, they're linking them possibly to going out on the town the night before, a couple nights before their ball game there. So it's going to be interesting. But I did want to read this, because this was a statement obviously coming from the Yankees here. And Zach Britton said, listen, the Yankees will go above and beyond the measures they need to keep us safe in a safe environment. Now, this is an actual player for the Yankees, obviously, who is going through all these things. He said, look, from a player standpoint, we are confident. We feel if we follow the guidelines and with our organization going above and beyond a lot of the protocols to ensure our safety, we'll be okay. We know the risks that are put in front of us, and we want to play ball. I think that's once again what I said yesterday, Coach. These players don't need people speaking for them. Okay, they can speak for themselves. So when I hear somebody on, no matter if it's CNN, Fox News, whatever you like, whatever you don't like, speaking for a player, understand these players have a voice. They have a voice, well, bigger than ever, and some of them have a voice too much so that, it may be trouble down the road. But nonetheless, hearing the players, hearing the Yankees of all people that are coming in here, and these teams, these MLB teams that are going through this right now, they are playing. They're going through all the stuff that a lot of these teams are going to be going through. Coach, I thought this was a great statement for Zach Britton and the Yankees because it's how a lot of these players feel. But once again, hearing from the media, we said it yesterday, you have to go hunting the good news because they're not going to give it to you. They're going to try to make you feel miserable. We talk about the misery index and things like that, Coach. I know you've talked about that before, but I just thought this was a great statement because this proves, once again, the 29 other teams in the major leagues since Friday have had 0 positive tests. And had there been positives throughout this, the spring training or summer training, whatever they call it? Yeah, sure. But these guys understand the protocols. They realize it now, and they're following it to a T, which is what you're going to have to do. But once again, Coach, I know I've said it over and over again, but I just thought this was a fantastic statement overall, and it just proves that even without a bubble, this thing can work.
Yeah, absolutely it can. There's no doubt about that. And, there's so many things that we've got to keep our eye on here and not get overly excited about a number of things that are being thrown on our shoulders really by the press and by, quite frankly, a large group of people. I say large, not as large as people might think, but a significant number of people who are globalists. And listen, they want everything. They want to increase that misery index as much as possible. And no school, no sports, keep the virus going. Economy stays in bad shape, can't rebound. All of that's good news to them. That's what they want. And you have to understand, I think the reason I say that is because I think people have to understand that is going on in this country right now. And if you don't understand that, and if you don't believe that, you really should start taking a look at everything that's going on because we are facing some pretty bad situations right now. We'll overcome it, and as we are day in, day out, we're always optimistic, not pessimistic, and we'll overcome it. We will have football this spring. We'll get kids back to school, and we will rebound as an economy and a country and so on. So, having said that, gotten off on a little soapbox there, I apologize, but I just think it's too important not to say.
Yeah, I hope they can handle it this year. I think that it comes down to we've seen leagues. It's an unprecedented situation, but there are examples. Korean baseball went from we watched those games forever, stayed up until 4 a.m, and now they're putting fans back in place where Major League Baseball, I thought they handled it great, which I cannot say for most of the last 3 months. But the Marlins, they made it a rogue situation. Baseball continued, and those other teams are getting tested. But it costs a lot to test teams, too. And the rich will survive. The other leagues will probably have to take this year off. And ultimately, as we all figure this out together for humanity's sake, then we are going to get to play. But I do believe optimistically that high school, college, and NFL, clearly NFL, they're going to play, and they haven't gone away from that from day one, that all these leagues at some facet will be played this year. I just don't have the answer for how long, and I can't predict all that. But I am pretty optimistic going into August that we're getting ready for football.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chad, I know you gotta head out. We're fixing to head to a break here, but we appreciate you joining us on the show.
Coach, it is great to catch up. I'll see your face again later. But Coach, it is great to catch up with you as always, and gotta head out and talk to some people out there getting ready for football season in this lovely rain. So it was a pleasure catching up with you, Coach, and I'll talk to you here soon.
Appreciate you coming by.
All right. JP, thank you. Do a great job as always. We'll listen to you guys.
Yeah, whatever, Chad. Get out of here. I'll see you in a few hours. Look, when we come back from break here, we're going to talk a little bit about Ohio State capping at 20,000 fans. A lot of people are wondering, what does that mean for the rest of college football? Tua Tagovailoa passes the Dolphins physical. Does that mean he's going to be a week 1 starter? Well, just pump the brakes for a minute. And no, Bill Belichick is not tanking, at least we think. And one more thing, Chad Johnson making some statements that may make you feel a little uncomfortable. Talk about all that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
First Take, your take.
The NBA shut everything down, said, okay, with relatively few people, once we can get our hands on enough tests where testing is more widely available, we're not taking it away from people who really need it, we'll set up a bubble, strict protocols, you can't bring your family, it's only a couple months because we're almost done with our season. That approach leaves me cautiously optimistic that they can finish the whole thing.
1 till 2, weekday afternoons on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? This is your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh! Dilly dilly!
Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson. This Wednesday afternoon, hope you're doing well. We're talking some football with you as always. And once again, going to jump right back into it with the limited time we have here. Coach, Ohio State. Now, they went ahead and, of course, said they will limit their home crowds to about 20,000. Now, they made a statement a couple months back. This is kind of around the area of where they said they were going to be. But they said they'll also prohibit tailgating if the football season is played this fall. Of course, fans inside Ohio Stadium will be required to wear masks and observe social distancing to help stem the spread of coronavirus, and concessions will be limited. Once again, Coach, this is a 105,000-seat stadium, so that's about 20% of the crowd. Is this, with the fact that some areas may be different than others, though, when you look at Texas is saying 50%. I'm not, once again, I think it's to each their own, but when you look at this, Coach, is there going to be kind of an even number across, meaning when you look at stadiums, is this going to be a 20% across the nation, or is everybody going to have their own thing going on here?
I think everybody will have their own approach to it, but that sounds about right. If you're going to have social distancing, and it is a true 6 foot, I'm not a math major, or am I going to attempt to work out a math problem here? But just common sense would tell you it's got to be around that number somewhere if you're going to truly adhere to all the medical advice. And I think having a mask on and with social distancing, I think there's got to be a way to conduct entry and exit so that people don't get right together. Also, how do you handle restrooms? And there may have to be some way to manage that. And concessions, I could see how they could manage that. Just have, rather than have concession stands, have people, have vendors walking through the crowd, and just do it that way. But anyway, a few more details that have to be worked out. I'm sure they have, but it sounds feasible to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good move forward. Once again, if you're an Ohio State fan and you're one of those season ticket holders, obviously, I believe if you had 10 tickets, you get like 4 or 5, whatever it is. But once again, the biggest thing is people are planning to play college football. I will take that, whether I can be there or not watching it on TV. Look, I enjoy watching it on TV with all the different camera angles and everything now. Once again, the biggest thing is planning to play college football, planning to play in the NFL. And speaking of the NFL, Coach, Tua Tagovailoa, we've been wondering, obviously, not a whole lot of surprise here, but he's been cleared to fully participate in the Dolphins' practices once they resume, obviously, in August, Coach Brian Flores said. Now, when we look at this, Coach, Tua Tagovailoa, we know how dynamic he is. A lot of people obviously speculating, saying, you know what, he will unseat Ryan Fitzpatrick to win the starting quarterback job in Week 1. Now, my personal opinion, I want to make this very clear, this is not from any sources, but my personal opinion is I don't think that's the case. I think that they will take it slow with him, obviously understanding the dynamic quarterback that he is. But, Coach, when you look at this, Tua Week 1 starter, do you see that happening? I mean, I think, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick's done a great job. I want to make that very clear. And this is a team that is not there yet. They will be a lot better. They've done a great job this offseason with the draft and being able to get guys in free agency. But I just don't see them rushing Tua into this.
I agree. I think that this is an excellent case for working in there. And I've said for a while that if he passes the physical, if he is physically fit and can do the things that they have to get done from a rudimentary standpoint, then we may be looking at mid-season. At least 5, 6, 7 games in before making him the starter. I think he will end up being the starter there for a number of reasons, but I don't think there's going to be any rush. I would agree with you.
Yeah,
they have an excellent quarterback for him to learn under. Maybe couldn't have a better one right now.
Yes. I mean, that's the thing is, once again, he's not the guy we typically look at with the beard and everything else like that. But Ryan Fitzpatrick has done a pretty good job. I will say a very serviceable job. And, look, he stepped in multiple spots when he was a backup and taken over. And you look at what he did with Miami last year. That team, they sent just about every bit of talent they had away, and they still find a way to win 5 ball games and things like that. I thought that was great. I think Fitzpatrick is a very resilient guy, and I also think he's a guy, Coach, that is not arrogant enough to say, look, I'm the guy of the future. He understands the situation, and I think he will help Tua as well. He wants to play football. He's a fiery guy. Of course, that Ivy League graduate, a very smart young man as well. But I think he is a guy that's in the perfect situation right now. And if you're Coach Flores and the Dolphins, you wouldn't want anybody else in that spot. I mean, once again, I think it goes without saying he's not a guy. He wants to be the starter, but he also sees the writing on the wall. And he's been a fantastic teammate. Everybody that has played with him has said nothing but great things about him. So once again, it is a great spot for the Dolphins to be in right now. It seems that they're moving in the right direction. I think it's great that Tua he's cleared to practice. My only worry, I hope they don't rush him into it. But I don't think they will, because I think they understand his value in the future that he means for that Dolphins franchise. Coach, speaking of some changes going on, Obviously, Tom Brady's out with the Patriots. We've talked about that. Jared Stidham and Cam Newton are there now. Obviously, the Patriots having 6 players that are opting out for this season. A lot of people say, well, is Bill Belichick tanking? Is this a tank for Trevor Lawrence type thing? Coach, I want to mention a couple things here. I want to make sure that we understand. I don't believe Bill is tanking. I know it seems like that. He could be. Who knows? I think one thing is you never feel or understand what Belichick is doing. He's always 6 moves ahead of you on the chessboard, and that's how he's done what he's done for so many years. But, look, with what's going on here, let's make no mistake. This is about COVID-19. Okay, Donta Hightower is obviously the most notable player, him and Patrick Chung. But Donta Hightower, obviously, he said he opted out. He became a first-time father on July 16th. His mother has type 2 diabetes. He doesn't want to, obviously, bring it back and have the chance of bringing it back home. And, right, you know what? I get it. We talked about that earlier in the show. Look, the Tom Brady breakup, we didn't know if it was going to happen, but we could kind of see, once again, writing on the wall. Brady was a little upset. I think that he felt that Belichick wasn't bringing in any more talent. The cupboard was bare, and it was his time to move on. And let's be honest, Brady wants to prove that he can do it without Belichick as well. So I'm just going to throw that out there, as well as a lot of people, Coach, I don't know. I think that Bill likes Jared Stidham. I think with Cam Newton, this was a perfect fit with Cam Newton. And what I mean by that is with the contract, you can't really lose. I mean, you pay the guy $500,000. He has up to $7.5 million he can make in incentives, but in order for that to happen, the Patriots have to win, and he has to be the starter and continue to play. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this. I think the Patriots have made some good moves moving forward. Is this going to be tough, losing Donta Hightower and Patrick Chung, even Marcus Cannon on the offensive line? The offensive line with Scarnecchia gone now, it's going to be tough enough, but losing Marcus Cannon stinks. But once again, Belichick has rolled with the punches for so many years, and I go back to the draft. On defense, Belichick, they did a fantastic job drafting guys that were fast, guys that were physical to be able to fill some of these spots. Donta Hightower and Patrick Chung were getting here in a year or two on their way out anyway, and that's why Bill drafted the way that he did. I fully believe it. That's my personal opinion. But once again, Coach, I still believe that the Patriots will win that division. I'm not going to buy the Bills until I truly see it on the field. On paper is all well and good, but that doesn't mean a hill of beans to me with Bill Belichick. But, Coach, the Patriots tanking, there can't. I mean, I know how you feel, so I feel like I'm speaking to the choir on this. No way that we could ever imagine Bill Belichick tanking.
Oh, that's the most ridiculous. Anybody that believes that, you got to be kidding. You don't have any idea of what's going on in the game of football. There's no way Bill Belichick would tank for anybody or anything. Now, I think that this is unfortunate for the Patriots that they're having so many opt-outs. I'm not sure about the quarterback deal. I'm not sure if that's a good deal or not for New England. I really shouldn't worry about it that much, because if it's not the way that Bill Belichick wants it, then somebody's going to be gone anyway. I still think that there's a good chance that despite not having a preseason and all that goes with that, OTAs and preseason, I still think that he has a lot of trust, maybe not trust, but he has a lot of enthusiasm for the ability of in his quarterback room. Now, if that includes an awful lot of the mental game, JP, and that would take me 20 minutes to go over all of the mental preparation that would be, I can imagine, that would be required in Belichick's quarterback room. So Stidham, I think he likes Stidham. I think he likes where he got Stidham, 4th round, maybe got a steal there. And so let's see what happens here early in the season. I think we may not even get to the season, because you better fit in with the whole program at New England, or you won't be there.
Yeah, and that's my big thing on this, Coach. I actually was talking to Chad before the show that I just don't see a meshing. I mean, once again, Cam Newton came in and said, "Look, I'm humble. I'm ready to prove to people." And then the next 2 days, he was like, "I'm tired of this humble BS." People that are humble, they get taken advantage of. And it's like, so that already, I mean, I can't imagine being in the locker room and look, players have talked about, look, playing for Belichick, you learn more than you've ever learned, but it's tough playing for him from a mental standpoint because they're so hard on you. You don't have the freedoms that you do with some of these other teams. But once again, you're winning 6 Super Bowls. You've been to the playoffs just about every year. I mean, there you go. You have to choose one or the other. And I just find it hard for Cam Newton. I just don't see that working out there. But you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Nonetheless, they do have an interesting situation going on there. But the Belichick tanking, that's got to go. If you believe that, once again, that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to believe, but do a little research there. Belichick has been through some tough situations. This is obviously due to COVID-19. Let's not make no mistake. There are reasons behind this. But, look, we got to go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about what Chad Johnson took before games. Get your take on that, Coach, and the Packers situation with Aaron Rodgers. Of course, Aaron Rodgers coming on Andrew Brandt's podcast there, having some interesting statements about the NFL draft itself. We'll get to all that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
For your ridiculous facts, I'm JP. 1933 NFL franchise Cincinnati Reds survived for 2 years. The team fielded one of the worst offenses in pro football history, completing 25 passes all season without a single touchdown through the air. See, Jets fans, it could get worse. And the San Diego Chicken inexplicably was named one of the 20th century's most powerful people in sports. A chicken as a role model? I'm down with that. That's your ridiculous facts. I'm JP.
From quarterbacking the Pensacola High Tigers to being head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Coach K. Stevenson knows the game, and he brings his expertise to talk football with Coach K. Weekday afternoons from noon to 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate you joining the show with us. Appreciate Chad joining us as well. Good to hear from him. I hear from him every day. But nonetheless, Coach, going to jump back into this. An interesting article that had come out now. This is something that, look, Coach, I haven't been in the NFL locker rooms. I've talked to players that played in the NFL, but not to this extent, obviously. You've played and coached in the NFL. Very respected, obviously, around the league, especially when you talk about the people we have on this show that obviously have the utmost respect for you and love you to death. And, Coach, when we talk about, well, what Chad Johnson had to say, he revealed something pretty major about his NFL career and very interesting. Now, people thought he was joking when he said this. He said he took Viagra before every game. And once again, people thought they laughed. It was a joke. He said, it's not a joke. I took Viagra before games. It increases my blood flow, which made me unbelievably explosive in and out of my routes and made me tough to stop. Now, Coach, my question is, a lot of players have come out and said, yeah, they did the same thing. So when you were coaching or being around the game, even still now talking to folks, getting around these PEDs and things like that obviously can be tough, but have you heard about stuff like this going on before?
I've not heard about Viagra. But there have been over the years a number of drugs, some of them just, I call them drugs, they're over the counter, like Vicks inhalant, the nose, the little tube
right.
you put up your nostril and inhale it. And that, for some people, they would overuse that, and that became a substance that was banned by the league. And there are other substances that I have heard of people taking that have since been banned by the league. Now, they don't make any big deal of it. A lot of it's under the cover. They just ban it. And then players are notified that they get a list of all the things that are banned, and players are notified that they're banned. Don't take it, or you're gonna be in trouble. So there have been. I'm not surprised that. I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't other things right now that none of us know about that may give somebody a little edge somewhere. But I don't think there's a lot of edge involved in any of those, unless it's just a hard drug that enhances. It's truly, a physical enhancer. Other than that, I don't think there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think obviously there's stuff that go around. Like I think Adderall, I know playing in college, I played college baseball, obviously players taking Adderall to help focus and things like that. And it is tough because some of these people don't need to be taking Adderall. And I saw the negative effects on guys taking Adderall. But look, there's different things that go around. Things change. Obviously people find out different things. But Viagra, I have not heard that one either. And that's interesting enough. It's funny how some of these other players are like, yeah, did the same thing. So, you know what? It is what it is. But, Coach, talking about some tough times this offseason. Look, the Packers, we talk about opting out. Wide receiver Devin Funchess opted out, citing his family's health. A lot of people thought that this was going to happen anyway with him just because of the health reasons. But when you look at the Packers, Coach, this is a team that did not draft any wide receiver help. They drafted a tight end. They drafted a running back. They, once again, drafting Jordan Love in the first round, which is surprising enough. It's interesting because Aaron Rodgers came on Andrew Brandt's podcast and was talking about that day whenever they drafted him. I thought he had some interesting statements.
The commissioner, with the 26th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State. What's your reaction?
Well, and I said this in the interview. I was, in a few weeks after that, I was definitely surprised. When they drafted up, I was watching the draft and thinking about which receiver might be there at that time. And I think there was a run on him there in the early 20s. I know the kid from LSU, who I loved watching, went, I think, to Minnesota in the early 20s. I knew the kid from Clemson was still there, and I enjoyed watching him as well. I didn't know maybe as much about him. And the kid from Arizona State as well, I think they liked him. And, his teammate was with us, Manny Wilkins, a quarterback. So when they traded up, I was definitely a little perked up a little bit. And then I got a text, because everything's so delayed. I got a text from my agent, marketing agent, who I love, and he said he just texted quarterback. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I love scotch, but I've been drinking sipping tequila lately as well. Great. And once I got that text, I went to the pantry. I poured myself, about 4 fingers. And I knew it was going to be one of those nights where the people are going to start calling, and there's going to be, hey, everything fine? You okay? I'm like, yeah, fine. Like, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't elated by the pick, right, especially being one game away from the Super Bowl and feeling like we're a couple players away. But at the same time, I understand it's a business. I know that's a reality. But I will say, I definitely, as much as people want to make parallels to certain things, in 2004, the Packers were 10-6 and lost in the first round of the playoffs. We were 13-3, and one game from the Super Bowl, won a playoff game at home.
Coach, I'll go ahead and stop it there because I know we're running, got about a minute and a half here. But hearing Aaron Rodgers, I thought the important thing, first off, he handled that perfectly because you can tell he's obviously disgruntled a little bit. He understands it's a business. But once again, this is one of the biggest competitors there are out there. And if you don't believe that, you haven't watched football. But for him to talk about that, put that in perspective. The Packers were 10-6 and lost in the first round of the playoffs when obviously this happened when he was drafted. And remember that he actually fell to, I believe it was 26. The Packers traded up and got Jordan Love here when they were obviously, like he talked about, look, we were 13-3 and won a home playoff game. We're one game away from the Super Bowl. Coach, I have all the respect for Aaron Rodgers. Look, he is a different fella, but for the way he handled that. But once again, I just don't think this is a good sign for the Packers, especially with Minnesota, what they're doing. The Bears are trying to figure out that situation. I think the Vikings are right there on their heels. But, Coach, look, Aaron Rodgers may not say it, but I just think that was one of the worst moves the Packers have done in a while.
Oh, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I don't think it could have been any worse. And anybody that tries to soft soap that, they got to be kidding themselves. Listen, it's even worse than you're saying right now. All of the things that you were alluding to are true. There's one that you haven't heard that I'm going to spring on you right now, which makes it even worse. I talked to two of probably the leading scouts in the league on quarterback play. And one said, I would not have drafted Love in the third or fourth round. The other said, there's no way I'd take him in the first round. He said he's not even a first round applicant in any way. And for them to trade up and take him when they needed something else so badly, not just a bad deal, it's a terrible deal. So you mix that in now, that makes it even worse.
Yeah, that is a good point there, and that's, once again, that's sources from the NFL. That's not Joe, that works down the street. So that's actual people in the NFL. I want to make that clear. So I agree. I think, look, once again, Aaron Rodgers, this is a team that's had the potential to be good. They had a really good opportunity to get some guys in the draft, as you heard Aaron Rodgers there. But hats off to him. Look, not a Packers fan, I'm a Titans fan, but I do root for Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the guys that I enjoy watching and one of the best to do it. So going to be interesting to see what happens with that team, as obviously they want to run the football more, but you still have Aaron Rodgers back there. Nonetheless, Coach, we run out of time as usual. We didn't get to everything, but you know what, Coach? We'll do it tomorrow, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
You bet. We'll look forward to it, JP.
Absolutely, Coach. Appreciate it. Appreciate Chad coming on the show with us as well, and appreciate the listeners out there. We'll be back same time tomorrow talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
Williamson in tomorrow's restart opener. Williamson, who missed over a week because of a family medical matter, back with the team and practicing, and that's a reason for optimism, notes ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski.
It was important that he was able to get to yesterday's practice and have two full practices with New Orleans before Thursday's game. There's even a Thursday shoot-around in the morning, but he'll do more in practice today than he did yesterday.
Pelicans, Blazers, and Kings all 3.5 games out of 8th in the West. From ESPN's Tim Bontemps, Lakers forward Anthony Davis plans to play tomorrow versus the Clippers. He'll have his eye reevaluated today. He was poked in that eye during Saturday's scrimmage.
Whether you're taking on the trail or your terrace, your deck or your dock, Nature Valley Crunchy Granola Bars will help you make the most of your outdoor time. Because a Crunchy Bar tastes like summer wherever you are.
First Take Your Take on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM, Channel 80, and ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You guys can hang out with us there also. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. That's how you get in on the fun. We're asking you what the worst unwritten rule is in all of sports. That's what we're asking. Simple. Give me any sport. We've had some hockey. I do love the golf. While it's not necessarily for the pros, the hole-in-one buying everybody a shot afterwards. That just seems reversed. If I had the hole-in-one, you should buy me the shot. Seems like it's simple logic on that one. But we'll keep taking your thoughts on it. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Let's take one real quick. Jay in Louisiana. Jay, what you got? What's your worst unwritten rule in all of sports?
Bunting break up a no-hitter. I remember